In Formula One, a single move can change everything. One moment of courage can decide whether world titles are won or lost. Rivalries can ignite in an instant, and entire careers can be defined not over a season, but in the space of just one corner. Today, we're reliving the most intense overtakes the sport has ever witnessed. From ruthless lunges that stunned the paddock, to last lap passes that left fans screaming in disbelief. These are the moments that prove why Formula One is the most dangerous, dramatic, and addictive sport on Earth. The first clip we're starting with isn't your typical overtake. In fact, some argue it wasn't an overtake at all. But it's remembered in history as one of the most calculated and controversial moves Formula One has ever seen. Suzuka, 1990. Ayrton Senna and Alain Prost, two bitter rivals, locked in a title fight that had become deeply personal. At the very first corner, Senna made his intentions clear. He launched from pole, refused to lift, and drove straight into Prost's Ferrari at full speed. Both cars were out instantly, and with that collision, Senna secured the World Championship. It wasn't clean, it wasn't elegant, but it was cold, ruthless, and unforgettable. A moment that proved Senna would risk everything, even controversy, to come out on top.
Prost takes the lead, it's happened. Alain Prost has taken the advantage. Senna is trying to go through on the inside, and it's happened immediately. This is amazing.
Now onto one of the greatest overtakes in Formula One history. Spa 2000. Mika Häkkinen chasing down Michael Schumacher, two of the fastest drivers of their era. On the long Kemmel Straight, Häkkinen saw his chance. Schumacher had already defended hard all race, pushing him to the limit. But this time, a backmarker, Ricardo Zonta, became the key. In one breathtaking move, Häkkinen dived to the inside, while Schumacher went around the outside, the three cars side by side at over 300 kilometers an hour. In a flash, Häkkinen was through. It was bold, it was clean, and it instantly became a defining moment in Formula One's history. A pass that proved precision and courage can beat even the toughest defense.
Is in the way. Can he do it? Yes, he's done it. A brilliant move there, either side of Zonta, and Häkkinen brilliantly takes the lead.
Next is the most dramatic championship decider Formula One has ever seen. Brazil, 2008. Lewis Hamilton needed 5th place to win his first world title, but as the rain fell and the laps ticked down, it looked like he was going to miss out. On the final lap, Felipe Massa crossed the line first. The Brazilian crowd erupted. His family began celebrating in the garage. They believed the championship was his. But just seconds later, Hamilton made the move of his life. In the very last corner, he slipped past Timo Glock, who was struggling on dry tires in the wet. That single overtake handed Hamilton 5th place, and with it, the World Championship. It was a moment so shocking, commentators could barely believe what they were seeing. A title decided in the final corner of the final lap.
Is that Glock going slowly?
It is,
That's
it's Glock. Oh my goodness me, Hamilton's back in position again. Hamilton's finished 5th. You will never see a more dramatic conclusion to any motor race, let alone...
In a full circle twist, just years after Hamilton snatched a title on the final corner, Max Verstappen answered with his own jaw-dropping pass in Abu Dhabi 2021. This wasn't just any overtake, it was a championship decider. The season finale saw Hamilton in control for most of the race. Then came a late safety car, triggered by Latifi's crash, and everything changed. Verstappen pitted for fresh soft tyres, while Hamilton stayed out on worn hards. A controversial decision by race director Michael Masi allowed only the cars between the two title rivals to unlap. Suddenly, Verstappen had one lap, one shot, to go wheel to wheel for the championship. And he did just that. On the final lap, at turn 5, Verstappen swept past Hamilton and held firm to take the win and the title. A clash of skill, nerves, and a dose of controversy that left the paddock reeling. It was not just a last-minute overtake, it was a moment that flipped the championship on its head.
Turn 5 is Verstappen, far enough back, he's going to make the lunge down the inside. Hamilton sees it coming, it's a late lunge by Verstappen, who takes the lead of the race.
Some overtakes are remembered for the risk, others for what they represent. Alonso's move on Schumacher at Suzuka in 2005 had both. Schumacher was still the undisputed king of Formula One, a 7-time champion with an aura of invincibility, but Alonso was the young challenger, determined to prove he could dethrone him. On lap 20, Alonso attacked at 130R, a corner where overtakes were almost unthinkable. Side by side at over 300 kilometers an hour, Alonso didn't lift. He forced his way through, pulling off one of the bravest moves the sport had ever seen. Afterwards, Alonso summed it up with a line that has gone down in F1 folklore.
I knew he'd hit the brakes. He has a wife and 2 kids at home.
It wasn't just an overtake, it was a psychological strike, a fearless statement that the new generation had arrived and the Schumacher era was under threat.
The current leader, and then Michael goes to the inside, tries to block the line into 130R.
Oh my word!
And Alonso having none of it, straight around the outside.
The 2005 Japanese Grand Prix didn't just give us Alonso's bravery, it also delivered one of the greatest comebacks Formula One has ever seen, courtesy of Kimi Räikkönen. Starting all the way back in 17th, Räikkönen carved his way through the field with a relentless mix of pace and precision. Overtake after overtake, lap after lap, the Iceman closed in on the leaders. Then came the final lap. Räikkönen had one chance left, sitting right behind Giancarlo Fisichella's Renault, down the pit straight, with the crowd on their feet. Kimi swung to the outside and swept past into turn 1. From 17th on the grid to victory. It was a last lap overtake for the ages, a reminder that Räikkönen's cool exterior masked one of the most fearless races the sport has ever known.
To go defensive down the inside, he'll have to go tighter than that. Oh, and they nearly touch. Can Räikkönen sweep in? Yes, brilliant.
Daniel Ricciardo built his reputation on being fearless under braking, and China 2018 was his masterpiece. Midway through the race, Red Bull rolled the dice with a perfectly timed pit stop. Ricciardo came out on fresh tyres, staring down a pack of cars ahead with only laps to spare. What followed was a demolition job. He launched attack after attack, braking later than anyone thought possible, slipping his car through gaps that barely existed. Bottas, Räikkönen, even Verstappen, one by one, they all fell victim to Ricciardo's precision. Every lunge carried the risk of disaster, yet each one was executed with inch-perfect control. By the end of the afternoon, Ricciardo had stormed to victory, turning an ordinary race into one of the most electrifying drives of the modern era. This wasn't luck. This was a driver at the peak of his craft, showing the world that sometimes the boldest moves bring the biggest rewards.
Down that back straight, Ricciardo goes for it from a long way back. Knowing he's going, and Sebastian Vettel is gone. Bottas covers it off, but he can't cover it off totally. Ricciardo somehow finds a gap there.
Some overtakes are remembered for their importance. Others are remembered simply because they were unforgettable to watch. Dijon 1979 gave us exactly that. Gilles Villeneuve and René Arnoux in a wheel-to-wheel fight that has become legendary. It wasn't even for the win. Villeneuve's Ferrari and Arnoux' Renault were battling for second place. But what unfolded over the final laps was pure chaos. The two cars went side by side through corner after corner, banging wheels, sliding off the racing line, and somehow refusing to give up. Every time it looked settled, the other came back. Sparks flew, literally and figuratively, as the pair swapped positions again and again. In the end, Villeneuve crossed the line ahead, but both men had cemented themselves in history. It wasn't a championship decider, it wasn't even for victory, but it captured the raw essence of Formula One. Fearless drivers pushing the limits, with nothing but pride on the line.
The shorter line, and he takes second place as they go into the right-hander and the left at Sablier, and now Renault's indeed are first.
From Senna's ruthless strike at Suzuka to Verstappen's last lap lunge in Abu Dhabi, these overtakes weren't just about gaining a position. They defined legacies, sparked rivalries, and changed the course of championships. Formula One has always been about more than speed. It's about the courage to risk everything in the space of a single corner. So here's the question. Which overtake do you think deserves to be called the greatest of all time? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this trip through F1's most fearless moments, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and buckle up, because the next story is even crazier.